Hey guys, All in Crypto here, and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another YouTube video. I hope you've all had a triumphant Tuesday so far. Today, we're going to be delivering our daily cryptocurrency market update, where we not only look at the realms of the cryptocurrency space, but we venture out into the external financial landscape that surrounds us. As we know, there are a number of factors that take place within that landscape that affect our space. And certainly, this is something we've been talking about increasingly over the past sort of 3 months or so for a good reason. And we're seeing that all play out and have seen it play out over the past week or so. So I've got some really exciting things to share with you in this video. The Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index is still in extreme fear. This is largely to be expected. Number of interesting things taking place. Now, yesterday we spoke to you about the fact that BlackRock, the largest asset manager in the world, had filed with the SEC for a blockchain ETF. We now see Charles Schwab, the asset manager of a $7.5 trillion fund, considering launching a crypto spot ETF as well. So this means that they need to accumulate crypto in order to facilitate this ETF. And of course, this follows the BlackRock news that we had yesterday. BlackRock, the world's largest asset manager, is launching a blockchain ETF that could spur large competitors to follow suit. There may be a race for these guys to have the blockchain crypto ETF, and this means that they're all going to have to acquire crypto. So we could see the floodgates open as far as that's concerned. Remember, we are still yet to have any kind of an ETF, spot ETF approved within the US. There's one approved in Canada. Of course, we know in Rio and a number of other places in Europe. But the SEC is dragging their heels, and they're doing this simply to protect other vested interests. So it's all very interesting. And this is whilst, your markets are in extreme fear. You see some of the large players sort of moving towards continuing to adopt crypto. And remember, they would need spot crypto to facilitate the ETF. They have the powers to purchase Bitcoin at a discount, if you understand what I mean. This is another one from the Macro Scope, Bitcoin Institutional Watch. In an SEC filing today, Chicago-based Rothschild Investment reported owning 232,000 shares of Grayscale's Bitcoin as of December the 31st. Previously, the firm reported 138,000 shares in October, so they nearly doubled their interest. And there's the official filing down here. This isn't made up. This is all factual. We do know that it was indeed this sell-off for Bitcoin, and we are going to dive into Bitcoin, of course, ETHEREUM, Cardano. We're going to look at the traditional stocks as well, how they're all seeing a bit of a pullback, which our market is kind of seeing at the same time. The reason these markets have all come into correlation is because of the macroeconomics, and that's why we really stress this. You're noticing a lot of your YouTubers that were totally oblivious to all of this prior now coming on and kind of mentioning it. And that's really why we start these cryptocurrency daily market updates, to alert everybody that there's a larger picture at play here. There's a bigger game being played, and the crypto market is a pawn within that, a pawn that, in my opinion, is going to get to the end of the chessboard and turn into a queen. So let's talk about this. So this is obviously very bullish. We do know, like I say, that this was largely institutional, in my opinion, this sell-off. Prices set at the margin. This wasn't retail hodlers dumping. Of course, there would have been an element of that involved. This would have been institutions taking risk off the table, given the headwind that the Federal Reserve is kind of causing with their deflationary tackling tactics. This is another pretty good article from CNBC. Ex-Goldman Sachs CEO Lloyd Bankfein says crypto is happening despite plunge in digital assets. People think I'm crazy that I'm so bullish on crypto, given the, and I still think we're in a bull market, by the way, guys, given the sort of price action that we've seen. I don't think this is a straightforward bull market. It is a bull market, and I think crypto is in a macro bull market, full stop. It's very early on its adoption curve, and we're yet to see all that come into effect. And there's going to be headwinds, there's going to be trials and tribulations within that. But ultimately, one thing that we need to pay attention to is what's happening on the ground. Are people adopting this? Are we seeing increased adoption? Are we seeing the institutional world move towards crypto? Are we seeing hodlers continue to grow? And this is from Operation Crypto, which is, this is his Twitter account. He's also a cryptocurrency YouTuber. He's been doing it a lot longer than I have. And he says here, whales are accumulating, are you? And he's showing you that you can see some large whale addresses over here actually stepping in and continue to accumulate on these dips. And we see this every dip pretty much for as long as I've been in the crypto space. For 2018, not so much, but really 2019 onwards, we've seen big whales just step in and purchase at every possible opportunity, every pullback. And that's because they understand the same thing that I understand. They understand the same thing that, you know, the likes of BlackRock, the likes of Charles Schwab's fund, the likes of, you know, ex-Goldman Sachs CEOs and so on and so forth. They understand that this is still a technology that's very early on its adoption curve. And there's a huge amount of value that gets captured along that road. And, you know, these players want to be involved in it. We also had McDonald's shooting or sending shots at some of the crypto Twitter influencers. How are you doing, people who run crypto Twitter accounts? The fact that McDonald's is tweeting about crypto was something that could only be dreamed of, you know, even a couple of years ago. This space is moving so fast. In terms of a technology, this is the fastest adopted technology that we've seen to date. And yesterday in our Cardano video, we looked at CoinShares, which is a typically institutional arm for investing and gaining exposure to crypto. Their sell pressure is actually waning. It was large on the last report, and it was even larger on the one prior to that. So it's largely been outflow since the start of this year. And for the first time, they're actually starting to turn around and buy. So the sentiment does seem to be somewhat changing. Our interest rate hikes already priced in. There's a number of individuals who I'm trying to get to come on the channel who are more... you know, some of them have been in the markets for as long as I've been alive, you know, that have a good understanding of macroeconomics, so that I can kind of portray and give you guys a little bit more of an over or a well-rounded report of what's actually taking place here, because there's a lot at play. But, you know, this is the thing that you've got to remember with crypto. It's still very, very early on its journey, and value comes with that. Certainly if, you know, blockchain becomes what I believe it's going to be, the underlying infrastructure in many ways that run a lot of the systems of the world. And the reason that it could potentially become that is because it's far more sufficient and efficient than the ones that we currently have. Certainly, you know, I have a medical history. I have a medical background. I've owned businesses in the medical sector. When it comes to things, just basic things like record keeping and stuff like that, blockchain could really innovate and help just that one space. And there's so many applications for it. You know, smart contracts, in my opinion, is really what the future looks like. And that's why I'm so bullish on these smart contract platforms, including Ethereum, by the way. I am bullish on Ethereum, even though I sort of favor different cryptocurrencies more over it. But it's not always been that way. Ethereum was the first, or one of the first cryptos that I got into, and still makes up a large part of my portfolio. So we're seeing Bitcoin get a little bit of a bounce today. There's always going to be relief rallies. It's just how the game goes. I'm still somewhat erring on the side of caution. I think there could be some consolidation before we get continuation. That next round of buyers need to come in, and this could be the very spark that ignites it. You know, imagine if an ETF got approved, or imagine if, you know, it only takes a kind of an event to take place to really spark, or to let off a spark that really ignites the fire and sees everything moving in the right direction. Ethereum, of course, is following. Relief rallies are typical, and this, you know, we've not gone on to make a new high or anything like that, and we're still finding and coming and hitting our head, certainly on Ethereum. What time chart is that? Let's look at the daily actually for these, because the 4 hourly, yes, smaller time frames do give you a little bit more accurate, but you can see it's a lot less severe on the larger time frames, which is what you guys want to be paying attention to, certainly in these periods of downturn. We'll also change Bitcoin to the daily just to have a quick look. You can see that was a huge hammering wick. So you can see that people are coming in and stepping in at these levels, and stepping in with volume. And you can see the volume stepping up right here, which is what we want to see. So you can see that people are very happy to accumulate down here. I do ultimately think we're going to see a new all-time high for Bitcoin within this year. I don't think this bull market is over. In fact, the bull market never really stopped since down here, or you could even argue since here. And I don't think, you know, you've got lots of YouTubers right now calling for a prolonged period of bear market action. They're basing that on prior data. I just don't think that's how this plays out anymore. I think we've entered a new age, a new level of maturity for crypto that does have boom and bust cycles within it, but they're potentially going to be shorter, and so on and so forth. So Ethereum is really just following along. You can see on the daily, you can see it still had a huge buying wick. You've got things like Cardano, that also had the buying wick, but are kind of seeing an area of capitulation. Is it possible that this is potentially just a bear flag and we see continuation to downside? It absolutely is. But if you You know, price is determined at the margin, really what's coming in and what's going out of the market at that one time period. Tides change very quickly, guys, and ultimately, you know, there could be an event that takes place on the macro that affects everything on the micro and crypto, and it just sees a huge uptick off the back end of that and a real resurgence. Remember, we're at pretty low levels for retail engagement today. This is the FTSE, which of course saw a big hammering buyback wick, and you can see huge wicks. So people are willing to step in and buy these dips. There's a lot of analysis getting thrown around, certainly in regards to the S&P, which saw an even stronger buyback. That, you know, the stock market is extremely overvalued as it is, and that's totally accurate. I mean, this is one of the most significant runs for the S&P today, and the channel that it's in, it's at the kind of top end of it, which typically follows a correction to the downside. And this is all spurred on by what the Fed are doing and so on and so forth. You see Amazon also seeing an uptick as well. So you have got people that are willing to put their money into the markets. Reason being is because they understand that over the longer time period, you know, DCAing works, and the reason it works is because money is a perpetual short. Fiat is a perpetual short that just continues to get devalued over time. So that's really what I have for you in this one, guys. This was just a short and sweet one. We will be releasing another couple of videos later on today, so watch out for them. Remember, there's a link to my Discord in the description. Head over to Twitter, give me a follow at at Real All In Crypto. So Real All In Crypto is the Twitter handle. And yeah, that's all I have for you in the video. I'll catch you in the next one, ladies and gents.